start. So, hello everybody. My name is Dr. Mrinalini Josephine. I completed my MD Psychiatry degree about a year back under the mentorship of Professor M. Tirunavakarusu sir, who is the HOD of Psychiatry at SRM Hospital, where I'm currently doing my senior residency. So my areas of interest in psychiatry are sexual psychiatry, addiction psychiatry, and consultation liaison psychiatry. I have a keen interest in promoting women's mental health in India. I have a professional account on Instagram. It goes by Dr. Josephine 16, which I use as a platform to create awareness and promote mental health. I've recently started a telepsychiatry service exclusively for women. So without further ado, let's go into the basics before going into the actual topic. So the topic of today is the mental health effects during the COVID-19 lockdown. So I first want to address a question of what is psychiatry? A lot of people have this confusion about what psychiatry actually is. So it is a branch of medicine that deals with the study of the mind. What is mind? You know, everyone comes and says mind is not an organ. What is mind? Where is your mind? So it is a functional concept and it has three components. One is mood, thought, and intellect. These three components have to function together, right? They cannot function independently. Now, according to my mentor, mental health can be divided into mentally healthy, mentally not healthy, mentally unhealthy, and mental illness. Okay, so there are two things between mentally healthy and mentally ill. Okay, so a large number of people can also fall under that criteria, or rather that. So how do we know that a person is mentally healthy? How are we able to say that one is has good mental health? So again, there are three criteria for this. One is awareness of oneself. A person has to be aware of themselves. They have to have the ability to relate well with others. All of the individual's actions and deeds should be useful to themselves as well as others. So it should not be detrimental to themselves or others. So coming to the main topic, what are the mental health effects during the COVID-19 lockdown? So WHO declared COVID a pandemic a couple of weeks ago. And what has this caused? It has caused concern, fear and stress, which are natural and normal reactions to this particular scenario, because it's changing and it's very uncertain as to what is going to happen in the future. So this pandemic has made it hard for many individuals, and I don't think any of us really considered, living to see or rather experience such a pandemic. Now, in this current scenario, I want to incorporate Kubler-Ross's stages. I want to apply it here and try to explain it to you as best as I could. There are 5 stages, okay? One is shock and denial. Next is anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So these are the 5 stages as put forth by Kubler-Ross. Now coming to the first stage, that is shock and denial. This is dangerous. Why? Because when the news of COVID-19 first came about, people were shocked. Some people were afraid to hear the word pandemic, because we all know that pandemic is a huge word and it causes a lot of fear and stress. So a person who denies this, obviously it's going to lead to a rapid and expanding spread of this contagious disease. And not only just the general population, whether be it a doctor, policymaker, a nurse, their denial will lead to a lack of timely intervention and decision making for the future guidelines to handle a pandemic. Then comes the aggressive attitude, as we have seen on the news as well. Aggressive attitude of some patients towards doctors and nurses, and some healthy people against policy makers also becomes problematic in the future management of a pandemic. Next comes bargaining and depression. Now, these two stages go sort of hand in hand and lead to failure to comply with treatment regimens and the prescribed quarantine and separation of persons. Okay. The final stage is acceptance. So, the sooner we reach this stage, the sooner the disease is controlled. And that is very critical at the moment. So COVID-19 is destroying the lives of many people, not just physically, but mentally as well. There is no health without mental health, and I completely stand by that. The importance of psychological distress during this time has not been emphasized much, right? I've seen so many interviews that emphasize on social distancing, the do's and don'ts of COVID-19 medically, but not many people really consider that people can get mentally affected from this. So we have a lot of individuals who come during this period and say that they experience stress. Now, what is stress? People don't, they come to us and say that they are suffering from excessive stress at workplace, stress because of lockdown. But what do you mean by stress? What is the actual meaning? Because when you ask a person, what are you experiencing from stress, people do look at you very blankly. Now, stress can be described as a circumstance that disturbs the normal physiological as well as the psychological functioning of a person. So these signs can manifest not only physically, right? It can also manifest psychologically. During the lockdown, the most common emotion that a lot of clients are going to experience is anxiety. Okay, every individual is going to experience some level of distress, and this distress can manifest as mentally unhealthy or can result in a mental illness by itself. So some of the common psychiatric disorders that people are facing during lockdown are acute stress reactions, adjustment disorders, panic disorders, anxiety disorders, depression, OCD, and addiction disorders, especially alcohol dependence syndrome as well as withdrawal syndromes, because due to the lack of availability of alcohol, a lot of people are going into withdrawal during this lockdown period. So a lot of you all have asked what are the common symptoms that people might experience during this lockdown. So some of them are as follows: frequent crying spells, feeling extra sensitive or overwhelmed at news, mood swings, loss of temper, irritability, difficulty in concentration, lacking motivation, low energy levels, imagining and dwelling on worst case scenarios, sleep and appetite disturbances. Now again, you can have an increased sleep and increased appetite. These are usually atypical features that we see in clients. Or you can have a decreased sleep and decreased appetite. As long as you're not satisfied with your sleep, it is a problem. Memory problems, difficulty in making decisions, procrastination or avoiding responsibilities, anxious or racing thoughts, chest pain or dizziness, loss of sex drive, feelings of loneliness or isolation, headaches, feeling hopeless, helpless and worthless, loss of interest, excessive worry, and apprehension. A couple of people also would experience suicidal thoughts, suicidal ideas. Okay. Next, the psychiatric problems, right? Those who are most vulnerable, who can get psychiatric problems are those with pre-existing mental health issues. Now, this is the population that is most susceptible. So when we think of a psychiatric illness, a mental illness, we have to look at it in a holistic approach and a broad perspective where we talk about the biological, psychological, and sociological factors that contribute to developing a mental illness in an individual. So all these things go hand in hand. So some may have a genetic risk, and during this period, this stress might act as a trigger. Okay. It can also cause an exacerbation or relapse in those with mental health issues. About 15 to 20% of my clients who have been diagnosed with psychiatric illnesses have been regular on treatment and do not, I mean, they did not exactly, they were not on medications and were maintaining very well, but they did relapse once India went into lockdown. There has been an increase in depressive disorders and anxiety disorders, and this contributes to high level of distress. And also, one thing that I would like to add is the constant exposure to the COVID-19 news daily. Okay, the feelings of the main reason towards causing mental health problems. Okay, um, feelings of excessive worry and the spread of false information on WhatsApp groups, especially from unverified sources, also contributes to people feeling fearful and hopeless during the lockdown. Okay, so this crisis has caused a lot of flare-ups between individuals who are living in the same house and have been cooped up for prolonged periods of time together. Some people might be living in a toxic environment at home, or are struggling with their mental health as a result of being isolated. So I want to emphasize this next statement, as I've seen all this going around a lot. Just because a good number of us, of people think that coronavirus is not an inconvenience to them, it doesn't mean that other people are not struggling. Okay, this lockdown period is not a kind of holiday. So all these things takes a toll on one's mental health, and mental health awareness during periods like this, especially during the lockdown period, is crucial. It's very important because everybody deserves a chance to be mentally healthy. Now, I would also just like to say something about the psychological impact of a child's mental health during this period. Now, children are little different from adults, though they can experience the same kind of reactions that we experience. One thing about children is that they model their parents' behavior. So their parents or their caregivers would act as role models for them. So how we react, they are also going to model that. Now, children are most likely to experience worry, anxiety, and fear. They also might have thoughts like fear of dying, fear of their relatives dying, or a fear of what it means to receive this sort like COVID-19 treatment, medical treatment. I know that a lot of schools have been closed as part of necessary measures for social distancing and the control of the pandemic. So because of the closure of all this, children lack their sense of structure and stimulation, and the friends who they had as social support are not going to be there. Also, they are at an increased risk of abuse. So some certain places can abuse, can take this opportunity to abuse children, and there also can be an increased exposure to interpersonal violence, which they can be a witness for, and this can worsen their mental health as they grow. Okay, so just some simple strategies. First, I think all mothers would know this: give your children enough of love and attention. Okay, this is what they need to resolve their fears. Be honest with them. Children can take on a lot more than what we protect them from. Explain to them what is happening in a way that they can understand, and do not instill fear and stress in them. Okay, so even if they are young, please do explain what is happening and consider them as well. One important thing is, during this lockdown, please provide enough of structure to your children. Structure their days, schedule activities, give an increased importance to creative activities. Some children, parents might not really have, some working parents might not spend enough time with their children, and this is the time when they can interact well with them and give them creative activities and find out what they are good at. So it's a good way to interact with your child as well. And there are online Zoom classes that your children do attend. So that is good. Activity scheduling and giving them a good structure during the day is very good. Next is the impact on elderly. So this is also a high risk group. They are very vulnerable, and this situation can be very frightening and fear inducing as well for them. Some might be living with their families, some may be alone and may have the help of a nurse or a caregiver. The main emotions they do experience are pretty similar: anxiety, feeling stressed, and angry. This is especially difficult in older people who may be experiencing cognitive decline or dementia. And some older people may already be socially isolated, and further social isolation, they're going to experience more loneliness, which can only worsen their mental health. And we do not want that. So what can we do to try to help them a little bit from our side? They should undertake some sort of minimal physical activity depending on their ability, keeping to routines or creating new ones, engaging in activities that gives them a sense of achievement, a sense of satisfaction, so that they are occupied during their day. Also, they should learn to maintain social connections. It is very important to, during this social isolation, to use media and stay in touch with friends and loved ones. Those of you all who have grandparents, please do check up on them, because we're all they have. Okay. Now I will be answering some of your questions. So let's see what questions we have here. So the treatment for depression, okay, so this again is different. Depression is divided into mild, moderate, and severe. There is something called therapy sessions which can benefit a couple of individuals. If therapy doesn't benefit, again, it depends on the severity of the depression the person is experiencing. Depression is mainly manifested by a low mood. The treatment being, it can be pharmacological. Most commonly we opt for pharmacological management. Also, I just want to emphasize that see, feeling depressed is normal during this period. It doesn't necessarily have to be diagnosed as depression, right? Depression is or rather sadness is a normal emotion that people experience. Only when these sort of emotions affect you in your day-to-day activity, in your ability to interact with others, that is when it disrupts your life, that is when it becomes a mental illness, and that is when you need to seek therapist's help or a psychiatrist's help, and then go in for treatment. So just because you feel sad during this period, don't jump into the conclusion that you are depressed. Okay, so yes, your pharmacological treatment would revolve around the lines of antidepressants. Side by side with psychotherapy would definitely make the person feel better. What is the treatment for insomnia? I'm not able to sleep. If you're not able to sleep, the thing that you can do is practice some good sleep hygiene. Stop doing all your activities on your bed. Stop reading your phone on your bed. Stop reading the newspaper, a book. Stop sitting on your bed always. Give yourself the opportunity to move about your house. Okay, get in a bit of physical activity. You don't necessarily have to go out. You can do some sort of simple stretches, or I'm pretty sure there are a number of websites that give you some sort of exercises to do at home, home-based exercises. Your sleep will improve if you do certain things like avoid doing like eating on your bed, watching your laptop on your bed. Give yourself fixed sleeping hours, okay, and go to bed only when you are going to go to sleep. Okay, that's something called like a sleep restriction therapy, only to go to the bed when you are feeling sleepy so that you fall asleep immediately. You do not want to associate the bed with frustration because you cannot sleep. You need to cut that. Okay, so maintain your sleeping hours. Do not eat too much in the night so that you cannot go and lie down. Give yourself at least 1 to 2 hours after you eat your dinner to then go and lie down. Wind down. Do not exercise 1 hour before going to bed. Okay. Is it a good idea to get therapy over a video call? Yes, provided the person is certified and is willing to offer these telepsychiatric services for therapy, that is non-pharmacological management. Yes, it is a good idea to get it over video call. Especially, I would not advise people to really go out right now. I know lockdowns have been a little better now, but it is better to stay indoors. And if these kind of therapies are offered online, by all means it is a good idea to get therapy online. Okay, you're taking the antidepressant citalopram 10 mg. See, the thing is, you have to contact your primary psychiatrist and discuss with him. It depends on how long the individual has been taking this drug and for what the drug is prescribed for. It really depends on the communication between you and your primary psychiatrist. I cannot give you a duration, or rather I cannot advise you on how to leave this drug, because psychiatric medications, or any medication for that matter, should not just be stopped abruptly. That is not advisable. So please contact your primary psychiatrist. Discuss with him how your mother is progressing, how well she's been maintaining, for how long she's been maintaining, and he will tell you when to stop it or if you need to continue it. But please do not discontinue it without a psychiatrist's opinion. How to overcome this fear and anxiety? Okay, so basically it is normal to have this sort of anxiety and fear and anticipation of what's going to happen. How to overcome would work differently for different people. If it's not really causing you much of distress, I suggest that you keep to a daily routine. Get up in the morning, have your bath, make your breakfast, exercise a little bit, read the newspaper, watch the news, have a sort of structure throughout the day that gets you through the day. Make sure you include activities that you like, that you feel are productive for you. That way you will benefit from it. And if you include activities that give you a sense of achievement after you finish them, you will definitely benefit from that as well. The solution for alcohol dependence during the COVID period. Okay. See, alcohol dependence syndrome is something that is going to be very common, because a lot of people are going to sit idly at their home, and some who do have a stock of liquor are going to drink. But you need to know that drinking is not going to solve your anxiety issues. Drinking is not going to solve any of the issues that you're experiencing. It's not going to relieve you of your stress, your fear, your anxiety, your apprehension. It's just probably a temporary solution that people opt for. But if you're experiencing any withdrawal features, because you will once your alcohol gets over, then you will have to consult a psychiatrist and take it from there. So please be careful to not keep drinking throughout the day. Other than that, if you are experiencing withdrawal, do contact a psychiatrist. So alprazolam for 25 years. How does one leave alprazolam? Alprazolam, well, see, this is a drug. I don't again, see, whenever I answer these sort of questions, I just want to make you all aware that I don't know the entire person's history, so I can't just give you all advice without really looking at the client holistically. The reason for taking alprazolam for so many years, first I need to know, and second, again, how does he leave alprazolam? Again, you will have to consult the doctor who has prescribed it for you. I urge a lot of people not to self-medicate, because if you don't get sleep, alprazolam or another drug or something else you take for your sleep, it's not going to really it might help temporarily, but we need to, look at the situation holistically. So taking alprazolam, and how does he leave it again, I would ask you to contact Health Travelers Worldwide to get a more of a detailed history before I can answer this question for you, sir. All right. How can I cope with my kid's mental health during lockdown? He loves outdoor activities and cycling. Well, see, again, you have to create a structure, a daily routine for them. You have to keep them engaged. I understand that a lot of kids are going to love the outdoor activities, but give them sort of creative activities. See, that is the other side of it. Now when they're indoors, either they will have their Zoom classes in the morning. What you can do is maybe give them a coloring book or some activities that would keep them engaged. You obviously would know your child better, so certain things like that, what your child likes, they would benefit if you give that to them. How to make kids follow a productive regimen and decrease their screen time? Sir, I don't understand what you mean by that. So a productive regimen, well, if you ask them to, you have to give them a structure. Like I said for the previous question as well, you need to structure it for them. Okay, the kid is not going to know how to engage themselves or keep themselves engaged during the entire day. You have to give them activities that they like. Now there are so many activities, creative activities that are there. Some children might even know, get to know what they are good at during this period. There might be some child or a kid who has not really tried painting or coloring, and might have an artistic side to them, but were not aware of it until you really engage them with that activity. Okay. So the next question, any specific activities you suggest to break a mental block or creative block? There are no specific activities. You have to keep, I understand the same routine every day is definitely going to make a person get bored, and yes, it is going to make you also feel unproductive. So you have to switch up your routines. Okay, maybe you have, say, 7 days in a week. Alternatively, do certain things like maybe cook a new recipe one day, focus on something that you have not focused for a long time on one day. Okay. Yeah, it is going to be boring because a lot of us are on lockdown. It is meant to be boring. We have to switch up our activities and overcome those the boredom that strikes us during lockdown. So yeah, these are all the questions that I can answer. Now before we let's conclude now. Basically, I just want to tell you all, how do we ease this distress, because I think that's the majority of questions that you people have you've asked me. So stay connected with your friends and family. Okay, give them time, check up on them. Whatever emotions that you are experiencing, accept them. Okay, don't hide from your emotions. Try something new. Prioritize your self-care. Take a few deep breaths every day. Stretch your body, do some yoga. Okay, listen to your favorite song or watch a movie. Meditate on your purpose. Read a book. Journal your thoughts whenever you're feeling frustrated. Journal your thoughts. It is really good. And it causes you relief also. Cook a new recipe. Reflect on your day, and at the end of every day, I would really ask each of you all to do this. Reflect on your day and think about the things that you are thankful for. A lot of us are very privileged to have roofs above our head during this time, and those of us who are able to put food on the table, which a lot of people can't. So we have to be, we are grateful for the things that we have in our day-to-day lives. Focus on the present and do one thing at a time. Do not constantly check the news, because it is not good for your mental health. The most important thing to do is provide accurate information. If you're wanting to give information to someone, make sure that it is accurate and they are from verified sources. Do not blindly believe what people tell you. Provide support and guidance and show empathy. Okay. If you really need to consult a psychiatrist, go ahead and make an appointment. There are a couple of telepsychiatric services that can help address your concerns. The teleconsultations for mental health issues are being provided by Health Travelers Worldwide. So get in touch with them if you require further assistance. Join Health Travelers Worldwide at 4 p.m. every Saturday. They have similar sessions like this with a different specialist each week. And just a small reminder to everybody watching, this month is Mental Health Awareness Month, one of my favorite months, and this year the theme is kindness, which I find very appropriate, especially since we are on a lockdown, and it is very important to be kind to ourselves and those around us, because it is a very tough time, and be kind. Kindness always works in the end. Okay, so thank you for joining me today. I hope you all have understood about mental health, and please take care of your mental health, stay at home, and thank you for watching. Bye guys.